Hi, I'm Maria, and today I'm going to be talking about forced induction. Forced induction, which is the process of compressing or forcing air into an internal combustion engine, increasing the quality of air available for combustion, has two types: superchargers and turbochargers, which are used to increase speed and fuel power. Today I will be refuting my opponent's claim that using forced induction in an internal combustion engine is a superior way to increase engine performance. My opponent's secondary claims are that forced induction is efficient, forced induction is available on many applications, and forced induction is cost-effective. My response to my opponent's first secondary claim, which is that forced induction is efficient, holds evidence that diminishes this claim. My opponent stated that forced induction systems have a 70 to 80% efficiency rate. There are problems that forced induction can cause to the engine that downgrade its efficiency. An article on forced induction in internal combustion engines shows the disadvantages of having the system installed in your car. According to this article, the biggest disadvantage behind the supercharger is known as parasitic loss. That is the power derived from the engine to drive the supercharger. The term parasitic loss is often applied to devices that consume energy from the engine to create more energy for the engine. Also, superchargers, which are a type of forced induction device, rely on a pulley driven by a crankshaft, and the belt used in the pulley system puts a large strain on the motor, which degrades the engine. Although it may be more efficient in terms of higher fuel power, the strain that it puts on the motor could cause problems, which downgrades the supercharger's actual efficiency. And according to the Muscle Car Club, superchargers, since they are powered directly by the crankshaft, they are actually a parasitic loss and actually rob horsepower to drive the compressor. My opponent's secondary claim is that forced induction is available on many applications. According to my opponent, forced induction is best for small to medium-sized engines and is uncommonly fitted into larger engines. Forced induction systems may be available for smaller engines that do not need that much horsepower for towing capabilities, but larger engines, according to Zach Bowman of Driverside.com, which are used in larger vehicles that are used for towing purposes, do not always have this option available. My opponent's third secondary claim is that forced induction is cost-effective because the cost ranges from $2,000 to $4,000, and it does not require extensive modification. However, the biggest drawback to a forced induction supercharger is price. According to Zach Bowman of Driverside.com, the high cost of forced induction systems is attributed to the fact that mechanical superchargers are incredibly complex, requiring special materials and the tightest of manufacturing tolerances. This makes the consumer question, is boosting horsepower really worth the cost? In conclusion, although my opponent had good evidence in trying to prove that forced induction in an internal combustion engine is a superior way to boost engine performance, I believe that the bad outweighs the good in this situation, because the problems that superchargers cause to the engine downgrades its actual efficiency. Forced induction is not that widely available for larger vehicles that need the towing capacity, and it is not very cost-effective because their complexity and the requirement of special materials and the tightest of manufacturing tolerances.
All right, Maria, I appreciated the effort that you put in on this, because I know it's a subject that really drew people in. They know so much about this. It's a very specialized subject, and you probably had to do some specific research on it. I thought the first point especially was very clear. You've got a good counterclaim on this argument, an explanation of why it might be counterproductive. You tell us what parasitic loss is. You've got a good quote on that, and you've got a couple of examples or an explanation on why that is true. through, and the first point that you're responding to, I thought everything there was really, really solid. Now you get to the second point, and I didn't think it was quite as clear, because there's this whole discussion of availability on smaller and larger cars, and why that matters to the advocate's claim was never really put into the argument. So I'm not sure that you're getting much out of that. On the last point, I do think that you've got a good argument on this point. The problem is that it's a value claim, because it comes down to the question of whether or not it's worth it for the price. And that's one of the things that you need to do, is you need to tell us why the advocate's argument here really is a value claim, so that you can then make the comparison yourself and not seem like you've drifted off into this other area. I think it's a valid question to raise, especially with the amount of money that you'd have to spend on something like this. And I thought that if you just stuck to what the cost would be and how much greater horsepower you would get for every $1,000 that you spent or something like that, and you just presented it that way, that would be okay, but it wouldn't tell us what the impact is and how to measure it. And that, it's the problem of the nature of the way the argument was presented in the first place. But I thought you did a nice job on it. The only thing that is a little bit problematic, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about today since my voice is dropping off also, is that you do have a tendency to drop off your voice as you get to the end of each one of those arguments. And right at the end, I couldn't quite catch the last 20 seconds of what you were saying. Okay, thank you.